I'm Elizabeth Inman. I'm Terry Hildebrand's sister, which means that I am Melissa Hildebrand's favorite sister-in-law. So,
Amen.
We're here doing our number 2 Financial Freedom Telecon for our Plexus team. So we're so excited to be here with you. Going to go over some things we talked about last time, building up momentum to where we really get to the meat of things. I know I had a few questions about, okay, when are we going to really get to it? But here's the deal. Especially since I've been planning and studying for these telecons, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I've forgotten. There's a whole bunch of things that I know that I should be doing in my own life that I haven't been doing, but guess what? After I started putting together these videos, I'm back doing the things I need to be doing. So we're going to start slow because number one, we don't want to overwhelm anybody. There's some of you out here that's never known how to put together a financial plan for your life at all. And then there's those of you that'll be way advanced. But even those of you that are way advanced, you need the refresher. So we're going to go over a little bit what we talked about last time, and then we'll move forward and we're going to add to it every session. Each telecon that we do, we'll just be adding a little bit more and a little bit more. Now, you had homework last time. Do you remember what your homework was? You were to identify the debt that you had that had the least dollar amount to it. So we're going to talk about that shortly. Again, I'm Elizabeth Inman. I own about 4 businesses right now. I have a very successful investment company that teaches people how to save their money, keep it out of the market, not put it into risk in the market, and how to save it and plan for retirement. So I have a counseling business, and I have a Plexus business, and I've got 2 or 3 other things that I'm always involved in. God has used all of those things to bring me to this point to be ready to talk to you guys about what do you do with the money with Plexus when it starts coming in. I know there are those of you out there that's watching that all of a sudden here comes these checks. And you've gone through a few months. I love to read about the paydays on Plexus. I like my payday. My last payday was one of the biggest ones I've ever had in Plexus. Oh, and by the way, I have lost 11 pounds. Just had to brag. Okay. But anyway, so these checks are coming in, and you turn around and you look around and you think, wow, 6-8 months has gone by, and I don't have anything to show for it. That's not what we want to have happen. So here's the deal. Abby, Melissa, Terry Eugene, their heart is they want you to be the whole person that God intended you to be. So they're always talking to you about your spiritual health. They're always talking to you about your physical health. And they're always talking to you about the business. And so they also wanted to include the opportunity to talk to you about your financial health because it all works together. The treasures of heaven was open to you when God created you and when you accepted who He is inside of you. And so we want to add these videos as an opportunity for you guys to make a plan, work on your financials, just like you make a list and you call those people and you work the 3 and you work the business with Plexus. Why work the business so hard and work and get it's all these checks coming in to turn around a year later and you don't know what you've got to show for it? We're going to put a plan in place. It's going to be step by step. It's not going to be overwhelming. And yes, I'm going to have a little meat for some of you that are a little bit more advanced than what others have been as we go through this telecon today. I want to remind you about what God says about financial freedom. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayst prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers. That's 3 John 1:2. Given it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, they pour into your lap. For by your standard of measure it will be measured to you in return. Luke 6:38. So we're talking about personal wellness in our spirits, personal wellness in our bodies, our health, personal wellness in our financials. Proverbs 13:22. A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children, but a sinner's wealth is stored up for righteousness. We talked about several of these scriptures last time. I'm going to recap those and then move forward into our topic for today. Genesis 22:18, and through your offspring all nations on earth will be blessed because you have obeyed me. And then the last one, Psalms 115:14. The Lord shall increase you more and more. you and your children. And I love the promises that he gives us, that when we obey, it's not just our blessings that we experience, but we're raining down blessings on our children and our children's children. Have you all actually seen Terry and Melissa's new grandbaby? Oh, Elena Pearl, I'm telling you, if she's not the prettiest thing. I mean, just right there, the reason why we're doing what we're doing is it's not just for us, it's not just for our children, but it's for our children's children and beyond that we'll practice these principles that we're talking about. So we had talked about identifying our debt, whether or not we have a financial plan or a budget, and we mentioned having financial goals, knowing what our financial future holds. So last time, if you're not debt-free, I asked you to identify the least amount of the dollar debt that you have, the one account that is the lowest. And what I want you to start doing, starting this very next paycheck from Plexus, if you are not out of debt, I want you to take that paycheck and half of it goes to that debt. And as we work through this and we build momentum up to some very serious principles and to some very serious tools that are out there to help you protect your finances, you're going to be paying off debt. Now, if you're already out of debt and you don't have the debt that's weighing you down, as the Bible says, making us a slave to the debt, then what I want you to do as starters is 10% of everything that comes in, you're going to put it into a no-touch savings account. And a no-touch savings account is exactly that. It's no touch. Don't touch that savings account. 10% of everything you bring in goes into that savings account. And those are just little teasers for what's to come, because we're going to talk more and more about those very things that I'm talking about, paying off your debt and establishing your wealth for your children's children as we go through this. So some of the things that I wanted to visit with you about, again, it's the fast track is going to be the fact that we're putting in that 10% into a no-touch savings. The fast track portion of this to keep this moving along is taking half of your Plexus paycheck, putting it on a debt right away. I'm telling you something today that will help you. You take those steps right there and it's going to help you. A year from now, you're going to look back and you're just going to say, wow. But I also want to talk about achieving total financial freedom. You know, we're going to keep it simple. We're not going to overwhelm anybody. Taking it one step at a time, just like learning to walk, starting to walk for exercise. I'm really not going to get out and run a marathon until I can walk around the block without huffing and puffing. It starts with that first step. So training, financial training in this business, it just fits. I mean, it's part of the puzzle. It's one of the pieces of the puzzle that just fits. About to be totally successful. If you can be the best Plexus salesperson in the world, you can have all of the health benefits that Plexus has to offer, and if you don't know how to manage your money, then what's it going to be for? Because you're going to be stressed out, not understanding where your money's going and what you need to do different. And so just like the product training and the ambassador training, they're going to tell you about having a dream board, they're going to tell you about goal setting, they're going to tell you about list making. All of the same principles fits for the financial freedom that we're talking about as well. Again, that overall prosperity, the spiritual, your health, emotional, the wealth that you accumulate. And I just would like to ask the question, you know, are you already where you want to be? Have you already met all your financial goals? Is there anything left that you haven't done with it when it comes to finances? That light is so bright. It's hard to read my notes. Do you believe you've already arrived financially? Are you content with your status quo of where you are financially? Most of us would say no. In fact, I don't personally know one person that would say yes to any of that. I just recently wrote $1 million contract with a client that has a lot of money. And he sat there and he just rattled off about 3 or 4 things that he just wasn't content with. He just wasn't happy at 79 years old of things that he still thought he should be doing better. You know, and it's easy, you know, from the background where I came from, of starting out very poor, of just thinking, wow, here this man has millions and he still doesn't have it all together. You know, that's not what they want to have happen with you. Terry and Melissa and Abby and all the leaders on this team want you to have a goal. They want it to be a goal that you can reach. They want you to have a financial plan. They want you to know what you're going to do when you hit Emerald and those 6-digit checks start coming in every month. I mean, can you imagine 6 digits in a month? That is possible with Plexus. That is exactly what you're working towards, is the goals like that. And so what we're going to talk about is putting a financial foundation underneath you that you'll have financial freedom as you walk this journey with Plexus. So right now, how many of you are carrying $1,000 cash in your purse or your wallet right now? Okay, ooh, $1,000 carrying cash with you all the time. You know, if not, start with 100. Put $100. If you're not used to carrying $100 cash in your wallet, I want you to get $100, and I want you to make it a goal that you're going to carry $100 with you. We will talk more about this principle more in upcoming telecons. But for some of you, you're already ready to put that $1,000 in your wallet. And I promise there's reasons behind it. This is the little teaser for today. We'll talk more about the $1,000 in your wallet. If you want to have something different, you've absolutely got to do something different. So there's a lot of generational breakthroughs that we're going to see. I kind of was thinking about some of the things that have sabotaged my financial plans in the past, and one of the things I realized was that I had some misery-seeking missiles that I was aiming out there because of choices I made. I make a choice, and it becomes a misery-seeking missile out to hit its target. Because of some family dynamics, because of the culture I grew up in, the mindsets of the people that I was around, I just had these misery-seeking missiles going off and hitting target way too often. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn those around into success-seeking torpedoes. So as you make decisions, you're going to have a success-seeking torpedo ready to hit its target. As you break off generational curses that's been on your life, maybe in the financial side of things, a success-seeking torpedo is ready to hit its mark. It starts with, how do you see yourself? And how does God see you financially? We oftentimes will ask ourselves that spiritually. We may even ask ourselves that physically, especially when we join a team like the Plexus team. Get us to thinking about those things. But ask yourself, how does God see you financially? And how do you see yourself financially? And are the two way far apart, or are the two fairly close together? I think most of you would say, there's a big difference in the two. Because God has already told you that He's provided everything you need. He will provide everything that you need. Just like He clothes the lilies of the fields out there, how much more beautifully will He clothe you than He does those lilies. So how do you see yourself? How does God see yourself? You've got to get to the root of some of that to overcome some of those missile-seeking, those misery-seeking missiles that has been sabotaging your life. So there's 4 things that I've come up with that has impacted our current financial status. I'm guilty of all of them at times, and I've weighed in and out. And you know what? Getting ready to prepare for these, I found out that I'd slipped right back into some of these, and I didn't even realize it. It wasn't a conscious thing. I didn't know that I'd slipped back. But the first one is, we're in a deep sleep financially. There's those of you that honestly, if I sat down with you today and asked you, what is your income and what is your outgo, you wouldn't even be able to tell me. There are those of you that prefer not to even balance a checkbook. And while, to the penny, to tell you that everybody has to balance a checkbook to the penny, probably not. And as long as you tell me all your financial goals are met and you're content where you are financially. If you're not content financially, if you haven't met all your financial goals, then not balancing your checkbook's probably not a really good thing, even if it goes against the way you normally conduct things. We're asleep, and we're in a deep sleep financially. We don't even know what's going on around us. We don't even know what's going on in our own finances, let alone what's going on in the financial world around us. We got to wake up. We've got to become aware, and I'm going to talk to you about exactly how to do that. There's those of us that blame others for our finances. Real easy for me to talk about being raised poor. And my mom and dad not having much money. I started high school in a house that didn't even have running water in it. We used an outhouse. It was a 2-seater, so by all standards, I was doing really well. But we blame others for our finances. Who's really responsible? Who today is responsible for your financial status within your own family? And number 3, we choose our financial success or failure by our level of comfort. Oh, well, if you answered yes a while ago when I said you have $100 in your wallet, There's a whole bunch of you out there that's quite content with that. $100 is enough. Well, $100 is more than I've ever carried. I'm just comfortable. That's just my comfort level. Well, take $200. What if I told you today, take $1,000 and keep it in your wallet all the time? Where's your comfort level now? We won't even rise above to the level outside of our comfort level. Oftentimes, we're going to get you outside of your comfort zone. Trust me. Just hang on. We're moving that direction. And without goals, we've chosen failure. There's those of you that's never one time thought about, well, having a financial goal. What is my financial goal? Do you have your financial dream board? Really, how can you have a Plexus dream board and not have it tied to a financial dream board? It's all tied together. You really can't have one without the other because it's total prosperity that we're talking about. It's total well-being that we're talking about. So I just offer to you that the dream board that you made with Plexus, include in that your financial goals and your financial plans. Make it every bit as much a part of it. You know, if your goal was to be a stay-at-home mom, that's financial. That's a financial part of that. If your goal is that, well, I want to drive the Emerald Lexus, well, a financial plan goes into that. Just listen to a conversation today among some folks talking about the Emerald ambassadors and the decisions they're making along with their decisions about the Lexus. They have to have a plan in place. You know, somebody with a lot of experience today was saying, don't just haul off and act without knowing what you're acting on and without having a good financial plan in place. Each one of these levels changes your financial plan, changes the documents, the plans that you have in place for it. So here's your homework. First of all, homework was from last time to identify the lowest dollar debt that you had. Now your action on that as homework this time is to start taking your Plexus checks and taking half of it and applying it to that debt. Now, there are those of you out there that can actually take your whole Plexus check and apply it directly to debt. And if you can do that, you need to do that. If it stretches you to do that, you still can do that. But the minimum is take half your Plexus check, apply it to your least dollar debt. That's making progress. Number 2, this is going to be a big one. This will be some of the hardest homework that I'll ever ask you to do, but it's some of the most important homework that you've ever had to do. I want you to write your financial vision statement for yourself. So I asked you the question, how do you see yourself financial? And how does God see you financially? And we talked about whether there was a gap or not. So now I want you to take those 2 questions and write a vision statement of what you see in the future of how you want your financial status to be. I want you to write it down on a piece of paper. Share your vision statement with your spouse and with your family. Then I want you to share your vision statement with your upline. Share with them what your vision statement looks like. And then I want you to share it with your team. When your upline says that's good to go, then I want you to share your financial vision statement with your team. That's going to start changing your mindset. It's going to start changing the culture. The scarcity mentality that so many of us suffer from is going out the window today. We are rich. We have the riches and treasures of heaven available to us. He's given us a wonderful vessel called Plexus to help us be financially secure, to be healthy, and to be spiritually aware and the best that we possibly can be. So I want you to write down that vision statement. I'm going to stop with that because, again, I told you I wasn't going to overwhelm you. And I promise you there's going to be those of you that are going to get stuck and say, I simply don't know how to do this. That's when you're going to send me a message on Facebook, Elizabeth Inman. I'm easy to reach. You're going to pick up the phone. You're going to call me, 918-606-8450. You're going to call Terry Hildebrand. You're going to call Melissa. You're going to talk to your upline about getting unstuck when it comes to your financial vision plan. You're going to write down your vision in writing so that you see yourself in the future where you want to be financially. We'll talk more next time. We'll get more deep into the details and the steps on what to do for financial freedom. I'm Elizabeth Inman. Thank you.
Do you think that, can you give us an example of what, because I know that I'm going to have several that's going to ask for an example of their financial statement.
I can. My financial vision statement is to be debt-free, being generous with others, and my financial vision statement is to be debt-free, giving generously to others, and creating a legacy for my children. That would be an example of one. It can be as detailed as you want it to be. It can be as simple as you want it to be. Mine for a long time has just been this: dream big. I had a scarcity mentality on me, and I didn't know how to dream big financially. I had fallen asleep when it come to my finances, and I certainly had generational curses that tracked me when it come to the finances. Dream big broke out all the barriers, all the chains that held me back, just talking about dream big. So it can be as simple as you want it to be. It can be, I've seen 2 pages written out before. I don't recommend 2 pages, but it may be that you need to do the 2-page summary before you actually get to the vision statement. I recommend your vision statement be 2, 3, maybe 4 sentences long about what you want it to look like in the future. I want to be debt-free. I want to be carefree. I want to travel. I see myself traveling the whole world, debt-free. I mean, that can be a vision statement. I see myself leaving a legacy, a financial legacy to my children and my children's children. It can be more specific. You know, you can start it right now with, you know, I have a car right now today that I have debt on, that I've been paying payments on. And my vision statement that I'm going to start with is that in 3 years' time, I'll have a new automobile that I don't make payments on. Nothing wrong with that. Those are some examples.
Perfect. Thank you, sister.
You're welcome.